Mr. President, the other day a reporter asked you about Maxwell. You said, quote, "I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is." Mr. President, Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
First of all, I don't know that, but I do know that
she has. She's been arrested for that. You know that.
Friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, you
Have you ever heard Trump wish Hillary Clinton well? Have you ever heard Trump wish Obama well? Have you ever heard Trump wish Chuck Schumer well? Which, the Palestinian American, as he refers to him. Do you ever hear him refer to Nancy Pelosi well? Or James Comey? Or what about his former cabinet officials? Like Bill Barr. So all those people don't get well wishes. But the sex trafficker he met once or twice or thrice, we don't know, release the files. It's just, it comes off as very strange. I mean, look, he makes a campaign of we need to deport the criminals, we need to crush the criminals, we need to turn them into stew and eat them or whatever. We need to deport all the criminal illegals. And then he's a law and justice guy. And then when talking about the woman who was sex trafficking 14-year-old girls, oh, I wish her well. It's just, man, it really makes you think why this didn't really kick up sooner.
You know that.
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die?
Especially when there was that big drop right before the 2024 election of audio from Jeffrey Epstein claiming to be Trump's close associate.
Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking bad for anybody. And they took that and
I mean, she's a child alleged child sex trafficker.
Big deal. But all it is her boyfriend died. He died in jail. Was he killed? Was it suicide? I do. I wish her well.
And he stands on business. He wishes Maxwell well. My goodness. And the thing is, this deluge of clips from Trump of moments like that, combined with the many, many, many times that Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, RFK, and all these other people in Trump's cabinet, not to even talk about all of those in MAGA world who have been calling for the release of the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, release them, release them, release them. Well, Trump is now calling those people who are continuing to say, hey, we want those files released. We want that public transparency. We believe that there's something there might be something here. He's calling them weaklings. And he's lashing out pretty hard. Here's the truth. Here it is. Don't need your commentary, Anderson Cooper. Trump lashes out at weaklings who believe Epstein's bull amid building GOP pressure to release documents. President Donald Trump is accusing some of his one-time supporters of being weaklings who are falling prey to Democratic bull about the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, concluding that he no longer wants their support. The message was the clearest sign yet of the cracks emerging in the president's coalition, many of whom are loudly demanding more information about the disgraced financier who has been subject to myriad conspiracies. Here we go. Declaring that Democrats had struck pay dirt in the Epstein scandal, Trump said his political opponents were using the issue to attack him. And here's his quote. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Oh my gosh. No, dude, don't add names for it and nicknames. I shouldn't be angry at him because he's just making it worse for himself. But does he think look, we called it Russia hoax and it went away. We called it impeachment hoax and it went away. We called it all these. Is that the pattern he's registered? You just call it fake news and it goes away. That's the pattern. This doesn't work here. The more times you mention Jeffrey Epstein and you get as angry as you are, you can't shift this around this quickly. Especially when you know, the claims, oh, what about the victims? We need to look out for the victims. And then you see the legislation proposed, and it's not release the photographs or video or anything that would disgrace the victims. It's not talking about releasing the victims' names, like the legislation that Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie introduced, the bipartisan legislation to release the files. I mean, just calling it, namifying it like Trump likes to Little Marco or whatever, it's only going to keep it in public consciousness longer. And honestly, I doubt this, but there's a little, you know, there's a twinkle of a star in the back of my head, and I'm thinking, if somebody can tell this is nonsense, what if they follow the pattern to all the other times it was nonsense? Well, if he's calling the Jeffrey Epstein thing a hoax and it's not a hoax, then what about all the other supposed hoaxes? Anyway, either way, this like namifying is a terrible idea. And my past supporters have bought into the bull, hook, line, and sinker. Weaklings who bought a hoax, they've bought into bull, hook, line, and sinker, gullible. It's a great way to talk about your fans. Trump wrote in a Truth Social post, they haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 years. Oh, they need to learn the lesson. The Republican base needs to learn their lesson on Jeffrey Epstein, call it a hoax, and they don't need to see the documents. Don't worry about it. There's a certain, look, even if there's nothing, let's say that there is absolutely nothing to it, that either A, because Donald Trump's, you know, the story keeps changing, that A, it's so boring, there's nothing there, don't worry about it. Let's say that narrative that has been pushed is true. Well, then this is a question about public trust. This is a question that the public, only 4%, that's Trump's niche, says they're satisfied with the documents and don't want to see any more put out. So the vast majority of the American public don't trust institutions. The vast majority of the American public don't trust their lawmakers. There's myriad rumors of Jeffrey Epstein's connections to the elite and powerful as a financier who was dating Maxwell, who had deep ties in the political world. That went back to her father, who was a publisher. People don't trust the government on this. They don't. And after all the promises made, this is a question about credibility. This is a question about transparency. And this is a question about public trust. And Trump is not acting particularly trustworthy. And if there is nothing there, then there's no reason not to release the files. People talk about like the safety of the victims. You can easily go out there and be like, hey, we're going to release all of the files that are not the victims' names or any photographic or video evidence of said crimes, anything that would be released abusive content. That is what the government should do if they want to regain public trust, and it's not real. And if the other option is that it is real and that it's all Democrat nonsense and it's all fake, as the Republican president has suggested. If that story of events is true, which it isn't, but if it somehow was, even more reason to expose Democrat corruption, even more reason to expose Democratic fakes. Like there's no way that you can like box yourself into the American public saying, okay, less transparency, boop, boop, boop. This is the problem with Trump. Trump's base, a lot of it is pretty, let's just say, conspiratorial. Where I'm not going to say what percentage is conspiratorial, but there's a lot of people with a lot of questions and they do a lot of questioning. And sometimes, very rarely, sometimes, they come up with something. Most of the time, maybe a little less so. But in this instance, there's a personality trait there. And that personality trait is like they like to snoop. They like to find the uncovered truths. And after Jeffrey Epstein became basically like the Ark of the Covenant, when it came to government conspiracies of like degenerate control over institutions and our societal elite. If anybody says the word elite regularly, they're probably angry about this. So there's a psychological attachment to this and a legend status that Jeffrey Epstein has built as like, as the white whale of the conspiratorial base of the transparency based, whatever you want to call it, the flatter or not flatter, and to just be like, it's not interesting. If you were my friend, you would stop asking about it. It's actually all fake, even, you know, irregardless of our promises or what we even said after being inaugurated. Like, we're gonna but we'll put out some footage that has been doctored after we said it would be raw. We'll give you all of it, even though multiple time periods are edited out. We'll give you these binders full of documents that are all already public knowledge. Like, they've completely smashed their public trust here. They've completely smashed it. I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about, with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems, is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do Democrats' work. Again, if you're paying attention to the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, you're a weakling. You're a weakling. You project weakness. You're a pansy. You're a limp wrist. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. You hear that? You care about Epstein Island? Trump doesn't want your support. Look, Republicans are not necessarily as doomed as in the primaries as some polling would indicate when it comes to Trump's approval rating, or when it comes to certain scandals that the Republicans have had, or when it even comes to historical trends. There's a chance that Republicans are able to retain the House, especially as Trump's talking about redistricting games in Texas, simply for the purpose of just gaining 5 seats so they can control the House. Not because there was some demographic change, not because they're trying to make anything proportional, but open, public, admitted gerrymandering by the President of the United States for the stated purpose of getting 5 more votes. So that, combined with the fact that, you know, the electoral environment might not necessarily be that of 2018, might not necessarily be that of 2007. That, you know, this, while we can talk about historical trends, you know, history is history. It is not the here and now, even if there is a tether that connects it all. And so Donald Trump, you know, he could presumably find some way, definitely if the Democrats underdeliver when it comes to how they campaign going forward, or what gets media attention, or, you know, what type of crises or scandals happen in the next 100 days. It could be that Trump could maybe preserve it by a seat or two. Could maybe, I mean, who knows? There might be a universe where he picks up some seats. I'm not going to put that as an impossibility. I still think that the odds are against it, but it is not an impossibility. But if Trump is like going to his supporters with the midterms, like roughly a year away, what is the point? What is the purpose? Is the purpose just to intimidate his supporters? Like, I will no longer like you if you keep asking questions. Having that reaction is going to make anyone naturally suspicious. So unless you're 100% bought into the cult, unless you're like a Scott Adams or you're a Charlie Kirk, and you're either paid or your personality is based upon your devotion to the man, and after 10 years of Trump culture, there are MAGA rappers and people like that who could not survive psychologically or financially without being Trump sycophants. But people outside of that, which there are people outside of that in the Trump movement, there isn't just a movement completely made of the car nuts that go on the back of the Trump truck, you know, on the Trump train. Like, there are some people who you know, you'll find a limit. And I don't know what I can tell you where that limit is. That limit has been, let's say, hard to find. And that limit might not be the same things that is my limit. My limit, of course, I never voted for the man, but I would probably say, you know, his anti-democratic tendencies makes it a disqualifier for me. But for somebody who cares quite a lot about this, you know, I'm sick of the two-tier justice system. How do you say that? How do you continue to talk about that? How do you even pay lip service to that with a straight face if you're also going to accept, oh, we don't need to look into the Epstein files anymore? Wow, because Trump said so, and now it's made up by the Democrats, even though Epstein was arrested under the Trump presidency. And he's going to blame Obama, even though Obama did not arrest Epstein. Obama made the files. Hillary did it. Democrats. But don't worry. You can always just completely disregard that public opposition by saying polls dumb.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, and he will, by the way, be getting no credit for anything that any of you are excited about if he cannot sort out his answer on the Epstein files.
But don't pretend to care about that.
Yeah.
But you're speaking on that from a political perspective, not a moral one, so it doesn't matter.
Of course it matters.
I actually am interested in it.
I'm interested
Jessica,
in...
You never brought it up for years.
That's not true.
Jessica, the polls are so boring.
Fine, how about the humans? Mike Flynn, you're a human. Charlie Kirk, you're a human. Steve Bannon, you're a human. They're all mad.
Now you're on their side.
No,
what a coincidence. She's now wants to know about Epstein now that Trump's in the office. Didn't care when Biden was there. What else do you care about? Who ran the presidency?
What?
Did you actually care who was running the White House when Joe was in office? Did you care about that?
This is such an incredible deflection.
No, it's not. I'm
brought
showing
up
you
Epstein.
I'm showing you it's a pattern.
You brought up Epstein.
I'm talking about why this president is not doing a good job on everything from the border.
But you just said he
Just close the border permanently, Jessica.
Immigration policy. Go ahead.
You are
Just keep going.
Jessica, you are conflating legal with illegal. I get it because he's winning on illegal. Doesn't
See, for these people, to be honest, definitely for somebody like what is his name, Guthridge, Gutford. So for somebody like Gutford, you know, they're going to support Trump no matter what. That's their job. That's how they make money. They're on the Fox network, and so you can expect this type of reaction. But this guy is not a good indication. When you go on like cable news and you see people like Epstein, Schmepstein, right? This is like the amount of people in the population that don't care. It's like, I don't like something like maybe like 20%. And for the people who are satisfied with the release of files, it's 4%. So that is not a winning coalition. That is not winning independence. That is losing your base. And Trump got ratioed one time in his entirety of his ownership of Truth Social. He's got ratioed on only one occasion. And I know it's crazy to be ratioed in your own social media website. And it was when he said that the Epstein files were fake Democrat inventions. He just piled up so much bullshit at the same time that people couldn't help but smell it. It was impossible not to smell it. So apparently Jeffrey Epstein's prosecutor was just fired by the Justice Department, the most presidential controlled Justice Department in American history, with the most direct, like hands-on approach, like telling them to do this, do that. Basically zero independence on Pam Bondi's part. They've now fired Jeffrey Epstein's prosecutor. Okay, let's listen to what Fox says about Jeffrey Epstein's prosecutor being fired by the Justice Department in the wake of all of this backlash about the presidency covering up the Jeffrey Epstein case.
This is a Fox News alert. This has been a bad few-week stretch for Jim Comey's daughter. She was just fired by the DOJ. She's known for a couple things. She just lost the Diddy case, of course, and she was Jeffrey Epstein's prosecutor. So the daughter of the former FBI director, James Comey, she's a veteran federal prosecutor, worked on these cases. Maureen Comey is fired. So this is sending tongues a-wagging as the internet personalities and others, and this show has asked questions about what happened with the files, why did we overpromise and underdeliver? But the president has made his opinion on this very clear over the last couple of days. We're going to continue to cover this, and we also...
What does that even mean? But he almost says that like she's received marching orders. Like, well, you know, we've talked about this show of, you know, we made promises, so maybe we should keep a promise. And you know, why it's weird we're not releasing the files, but, you know, the president does what the president does. Just this resigned, like, he's Trump, you know, fuck us.
have big...
My gosh, to be so cucked. Media isn't honest. They got financial incentives to pick a side and be a cheerleader.